Say the prayer. हमें अपने मन को हमेशा संतुलित रखना है। इसी में हमारा आत्म विकास वही में सर्वम ओम ओम ओम। आत्मनि में त्वम ओम ओम ओम। स्मारे स्मारे ओम ओम ओम। चित्तम शामे शामे ओम। स्मराणि सोहम ओम ओम ओम। शांतं चिन्मयम् ओम माम ओम। तटस्थं केवलम् ओम ओम ओम। स्मराणि शुद्धम् ओम माम ओम। So last time we saw Sanyama techniques being used to master the Panchamahabhutas. Now, subsequent two sutras, they are dealing with what happens after the bhutas have been mastered. So 44th sutra is talking about mastery over the bhutas, and 45, 46 sutra, they are talking about the results thereof. What will be the signs? What will happen as a result of mastery over Panchamahabhutas? That is being described in 45 and 46 sutra. So today we'll be doing two sutras together because both are connected and there's not much in 46, so we'll combine it. So the 45th sutra reads, Tato animadi pradurbhavah kaya sampat dharmanabhighatascha. The meaning is उससे मतलब भूत जैसे, उससे अणिमा आदि का प्रादुर्भाव होता है और काय संपत्ति की तथा काय धर्म की अनभिघात की भी सिद्धि होती है. English translation would be, thence develop the power of minification and other bodily acquisitions. There is also no resistance by its characteristics. The 46th sutra reads, Rupa Lavanya Bala Vajrasanhananatva Rupa Lavanya Bala Vajrasanhananatva Kayasampat. Perfection of body consists in beauty, grace, strength, and adamantine hardness. रूप, लावण्य, बल तथा वज्र संवनत्व ये काय संपत हैं. So these are the two sutras. So now the very first thing which they are talking about is from thence, from the mastery over the Panchamahabhutas, Anima Adi Pradurbhava. Now Anima is only just one Siddhi which is mentioned here. From that we can make out that they are talking about the Ashta Siddhis. Now this Ashta Siddhi is a very, very important concept in Indian thinking. So particularly those who are involved in the spiritual life, Siddhis are bound to be there. But very famous Siddhis are known as Ashta Siddhis. So in many prayers, in many stotras, mantras, you will find these Ashta Siddhis are being mentioned. So these are the same Ashta Siddhis which are being mentioned here. So one of the example would be when we recite Hanuman Chalisa. In Hanuman Chalisa also the same thing comes. Ashta Siddhi now Niddhi ke data. असबर दीन जान की माता राम रसायन तुमरे पासा सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा. This is the Ashta Siddhi word comes there. And then Siddhis are also associated with the prayers of Ganesha. We heard about Riddhi Siddhi. So this is the same Siddhi which is being talked about. So what is the list of these 8 Siddhis? In many scriptures or writings, they may differ from each other slightly. But here in this Vyas Bhashya, they have given certain names. So we will look at these Ashta Siddhis and then we will go further into the sutras. Because after Siddhis, they are talking about Kayasampat. Then one acquires what is known as the Sampat is wealth. But wealth is not here meaning the money. It is the richness of the body, the greatness of the body, or the all those qualities which are needed in the body. All those will be acquired. So Kaya Sampat. Kaya is body. Sampat means Sampatti. Sampatti word has come from Sampat. But what will be the Kaya Sampat? What will be the wealth for the body? The wealth for body will be, obviously we know, health will be the primary thing. Strength will be the primary thing, or the looks, or the good looking, pleasant looking. So all those qualities are also being talked about as Kaya Sampat. And Dharmanabhighaatah. Body acquires the capacity where it is not restricted by the Bhutas. So that is another area which we will look into. So now going into this is again a very technical sutra, highly technical sutra, and we will go into little details, and then we will see what is actually at the stake and what is involved in acquiring these siddhis. So the very first siddhi which is mentioned is Anima. Anima means minification, becoming like atom. So that is what Anima means. So yogi acquires the power of minification, that is making his body as small as an atom. This is the siddhi which is being talked about. So it's something very, very wonderful. When we hear it, we are really surprised, and we are full of wonder as to what they are talking about and how is it possible. But then we have to think deeply, and we have to really reflect on this to be able to understand the importance of the sutra and the importance of these siddhis. So the very first siddhi is minification, reducing one's size to an atom. Then the second siddhi is Laghima, lightness. Lightness in the sense of making one's body very light. The weight becomes less and less. So at will, yogi can reduce the weight of the body. Yogi can become very light. Now, this siddhi, a part of it we have already seen. When we have seen Udana Jaya, Jalapanka Kantaka Adisha, Sutra 38 we have seen. And then Kaya Akasha Sambandha Sanyamad, that also we have seen. That to be able to levitate, to be able to rise, or to be able to even fly, all that we have seen. And there the word was used, Lagutula Samapattescha, Lagutula Samapattescha. Focusing and carrying out sanyama on the fiber of cotton, a cotton fiber. Cotton fiber is so light, we can hardly hold it in our hand. The moment we release it, will just fly away. So cotton fiber is so light that we have discussed already in earlier sutras. So this second siddhi of Laghima, which has to do with lightness. Lightness means one can really rise, because one is light, one can move very fast. So that is the second siddhi, and the third is Mahima. Mahima means largeness, increasing one size of the body to any level. Again, this example, the moment I read, what I thought of was, again, example of Hanumanji comes. We know that he was able to increase his body size, and when he was crossing the sea to go to Lanka, that time he had assumed a very big form. And again in Hanuman Chalisa only this comes that he is able to reduce his size, he is able to increase his size. So while going to Lanka, he met with a great what is known as demon, Sursa, and she wanted to eat him up because she never allowed anybody to pass from the sea, and whatever any animal, any bird flying from that area, she will just grab them and eat them away. So she thought Hanuman was also like that. So she tried to catch him. And then Hanuman told him that I'm going to Lanka for a specific work. I'll come back and meet you. She said, no, you cannot pass from here and without going into my mouth. So as soon as Hanuman hears, he immediately increases his size. So as he is increasing his size, Sursa is increasing her mouth size because she was a demon. So they went on increasing their size. The mouth size of the mouth was very big. Hanuman also will become very big. And suddenly Hanuman became very small. He entered her mouth and immediately came out. And after coming out, he very politely said, see, you had this condition that nobody can leave without entering your mouth. I have entered your mouth and I have come out of your mouth. So allow me to go. So this was the wisdom of Hanuman and the trick. So there are instances where we hear about these kind of things where they are able to increase the size, but these are all mythological examples. Physically, it is very difficult to give any modern parallel where this kind of siddhis have been seen. So Mahima is largeness, increasing one size. Prapti. Prapti is attainment. Now this attainment, there is nothing which yogi cannot attain. So the example which they have given in the Vyas Bhashya is that he can even touch the moon with the fingertip. That is the example. Again, a very fantastic thing. So it is up to us whether we accept it or we question it or we doubt it or think about it. So with that, we have to proceed with it. So Prapti is attainment. Attainment, so there's nothing which remains unattainable by such a yogi. Whatever he wishes, and in that, one of the things which has been given as example is touching the moon with the finger. That is the Siddhi. Chandrama ka sparsh. Then fifth Siddhi is Prakamya. Prakamya means irresistible will, by which one can go down inside solid earth and also come up from it as one can in water. So his body becomes like that. He can manipulate his body, he can change his body in such a way. Just like a person enters the water and comes out of the water, same way he can enter the earth and he can come out of the. That is the Prakamya, irresistible will. Now this will is again, because we are talking about will, and even the sixth Siddhi, which is Vashitva, all four remaining Siddhis, they are somehow connected to the divinity. These are the qualities which are seen in Ishvara. So somewhere now yogi, as I told you, from Sutra 38 onwards, we are venturing into a very deep area where certain qualities are being talked about which are divine in nature and which are really fantastic. So this Prakamya Siddhi is also that way very, very great Siddhi or very wonderful Siddhi. Then Vashitva is control. Control over Bhutas. Control means control over Bala. We have already seen that control over Bhutas has been talked about in 44. So extension of that is Vashitva, control over Bhutas, Tanmatras, and he attains such a power that he cannot be disturbed, he cannot be shaken, he cannot be moved by anything. So a kind of great strength is attained. along with this mastery of the bhutas and tanmatras. When we are talking about bhutas and tanmatras, anything made up of panchamahabhutas will be under his control. How we can view this, we will talk about it little later. And then we move to seventh, Ishitratva, mastery by which one controls his appearance and disappearance, an aggregation of bhutas and object made up of. So all the bhutas and bhautik padarthas, or all the material things which are made up of panchamahabhutas, they can be manipulated, they can be controlled, they can be produced, or they can be destroyed. Destroyed in the sense they can disappear. Something which is there in the existence cannot be destroyed. They can be modified. So when we are talking about disappearance or destruction, it is modification of that. So all the powers of this kind will be acquired by a yogi. So when I am talking about this kind of control over bhautik padarthas, one very famous story comes to my mind, which we learned from founder of the Yoga Institute. And then recently we have been going to Malsar, where founder's guru, Madhav Das ji, stayed, and his samadhi is there. So there is a famous story about Madhav Das ji. When we are talking about changing the bhutas, structure of the bhutas, combination of the bhutas, if they are in different proportions, the proportions can be changed. Now, this kind of siddhi was witnessed by people in Malsar, maybe now almost 100 years back. So somewhere in 1920s, 30s, this happened. And it so happened now Malsar is a place where congregation takes place of many devotees, and some kathakars are there. They will be doing kathas. So in those days, when traveling was very difficult, buses were not there, roads were not there. In spite of that, many thousand people will gather together and for the discourses by the great saints. So once it so happened that many people came to Malsar, and then the food was not there. Food had to be arranged. So the people who were serving there in the temple, they got worried and they went to Madhav Das ji. He said, "There's no oil for cooking. Rest of the things are there, but the oil is not there." So he said, "Okay, don't worry." And then he called for two big containers, and he said, "Bring two big containers filled with water." And Narmada River is very nearby. So they took the containers near the Narmada River, and they say that Madhav Das ji prayed to Narmada, or he did something. Now both the containers filled with water, they got converted into oil. And about the food also, there was shortage. So he said not to worry, start cooking and start serving. So they started cooking and started serving, and it so happened that none was left hungry. They were able to feed everybody. Whosoever came there was fed properly, although the resources were very limited. Now, this kind of siddhi is again there in Mahabharata also, when we hear about Akshay Patra kind of thing. So there, in a different way, the same kind of thing is there. So Krishna had given one Akshay Patra to Draupadi. So that is all. There is also such kind of stories are there. But this is one recent example. Maybe last 100 years back, this happened. And now also those who recall Madhav Das ji's greatness, there are many siddhis revolving around the personality of Madhav Das ji. Madhav Das ji had tremendous powers, and he sometimes he demonstrated those powers when the need was there or when there was a crisis. So founder has also vouched for it. Founder had himself, narrated some of the stories of his guru. So one of the instance was of this kind where, and when you go there, people who know about Madhav Das ji, they will, tell you so many things about him. There are people who never met Madhav Das ji, but when they went near his ashram or his place, hearing about his stories, hearing about him, they stayed back and they also became great. They also started practicing and they also attain greatness. So these kind of things are there. So this Siddhi reminded me of that. That's why I shared with you. Ishitratva. And then the eighth one is again very powerful and most important. Yatrakamavasayitva. Yatrakama, Yatrakamavasayitva, that is resolution. Uh, perfect, as you say, there's no obstruction in the willpower of the yogi. So he can attain anything by which one can determine at the will the bhutas and their nature and their staying as desired. Yogis do not utilize them for disturbing the disposition of the world because, okay. So this is again, this is a very important siddhi that they acquire, almost they can do anything. They like become super powerful or almighty kind of thing. They come very close to being close to qualities of God, as if this kind of siddhis they attain. But after describing these siddhis, what is most important is that although they acquire this power, but they desist from using these powers. Because why they are not using these powers? Although they have this power of unabhighatascha, non-obstruction to the characteristics of body, all these powers are there, but they are not usually utilizing these powers. So anabhighata also means that normally whatever are the characteristics of the bhutas, so earth is hardness. Earth cannot be penetrated, that is the hardness. Water, the wetness is the quality of the water. Fire, it is the quality of burning. Vayu, it is the quality of moving or drying. And space, akasha, it is the occupying, pervading. So all these qualities which we had discussed when we were discussing Sutra 44, or the bhutas and their qualities, all the 5 forms, sthula, sukshma, sthula, swarupa, sukshma, anvaya, arthavatva. These were the forms we had discussed. So all these forms which are there the yogis can acquire mastery. They can alter things or they can say something and it will happen. These kind of siddhis have been talked about. And Kayasampat, which is there, Kayasampat will be there, in the Sutra 46. We will come to that. So after these eight siddhis, the Kayasampat is there, which we will touch later. The third thing was the Dharmanabhighaatah. So we were talking about this Dharmanabhighaatah. So earth has got hardness, and if that hardness hits our body, it affects our body. It can injure us or it can harm us. Same way, all the bhutas have got certain characteristics. Now, these characteristics also can be mastered by such a yogi. So he goes even beyond that. And then if that kind of power is there, he can also manipulate them. So he is getting a perfect mastery. But in spite of having this mastery, they say that yogis will not try doing any such thing. Why they will not try to do any such thing? Because no yogi can go against the will of the God. So God has willed the world to be in a certain way. That is the way world is. So when we look at the world, there are certain rules, certain principles, certain natural laws according to which the world is functioning. So they cannot, although they acquire the power, but they cannot use it against those laws because those laws were willed by the Ishwar or by God. So they will not go against that. So here what they are trying to say is that, although with their effort, they can acquire that kind of power which even God has. But they will not utilize it because they cannot go against the will of the God. The God's will always will be prevailing. So here God's will, which is being talked about, and so in Vyas Bhashya, the word is used Purva Siddha. So although yogis are acquiring these kind of siddhis, but they cannot go against the Purva Siddha. Who's Purva Siddha? Purva Siddha is the Ishvara, because he was the ultimate, authority. Tatra Nirtishayam Sarvagnya Bijam. Ishvara or God is the entity in which the supreme power rests. So nobody can transcend that, nobody can go beyond that. So everybody will be within the limitations of that power that is being talked about. So this here, by the way, because it is context is there, so the commentator has also talked about Ishvara. He has tried to clarify it. So when he's talking about Ishvara or Purva Siddha, what is he meaning by that? What does he mean by that? So in Indian thinking, you will find the conception of God is in two ways. Like they say Brahma. So we use the word Ishvara also, or we use the word Brahma also. So when they talk about Brahma, the Brahma is being talked about in two ways. Saguna Brahma and Nirguna Brahma. So Ishvara is also considered to be like that. Saguna Ishvara and Nirguna Ishvara. But then, in case of Nirguna Ishvara, we cannot say if the word Ishvara, we'll have to say the word Brahma. Because the moment we say Ishvara, the Siddhi, which we just discussed just now, that is the Ishitratva, that also, rings in the ear. That means the power of creation, the power of doing. So that is associated with the Ishvara. So all these bhutas, the world, the way it is functioning, all this was willed by Ishvara. So when we talk about creator, Saguna Brahma is considered to be the creator. Saguna Brahma is considered to be the sustainer. Saguna Brahma is considered to be the destroyer. So there's a cycle of love, birth and life and birth going on, creation, and so we call it evolution and involution. Evolution and involution. This is the function, or this is happening according to the will of Saguna Ishvara. So him we call creator. So because these siddhis are being talked about, that's why as the context is there, so commentator is talking about Ishvara also. And then he is distinguishing between the Saguna Ishvara and Nirguna Ishvara. Nirguna Ishvara has got nothing to do with this creation. Or Nirguna Brahma has got nothing to do with this. Only Saguna Brahma is being talked about here. So when they are talking about Purva Siddha, it doesn't mean Nirguna Brahma. It means Saguna Brahma. That is the commentary, which is there. So from that we have to consider it. Now moving on to the Sutra 46. What is Kayasampat? Kayasampat, as I told you, the supernormal capacities, supernormal characteristics, or capacities of the body. Perfection of the body. What is the perfection of the body? So one is the beauty, the Rupa, beauty. The second is grace, Lavanya, gracefulness. Third is Bala, strength. Yogi acquires great strength. And Vajrasanhananatva. So, something which is unbreakable, or something which cannot be broken. That is what is Vajra. So he acquires a body which is very beautiful, which is graceful, which is also very strong, and so adamantine, like solid Vajra. Vajra is, we all know that Vajra is a weapon which is used by Indra. So the weapon which Indra uses is known as Vajra. Nothing can break that, and there is nothing in the world which cannot be broken by the Vajra. Vajra can destroy anything. That is why it is called Vajra. So it is a weapon which is used by the Indra, who is the leader of the gods or the head of the gods. So Vajra word has again and again come. So his body becomes like a Vajra. That means nothing can destroy his body, nothing can really touch his body, nothing can change his body. That kind of quality is. So he becomes very presentable or beautiful. He is lovely or Kantivan, full of strength, and also this Vajrasan. So these are the two sutras briefly talking about the qualities which are acquired as a result of Panchamahabhutas. Now, you see, when we are talking about supreme will, normally we consider, even in prayers, in Christian prayers, you will always find when the prayers to God are made, thy will be done. It's God's will. So God's will rules supreme in the world. So this will, the more a person has got willpower, what does willpower means? What do we mean by will? Will is unobstructed desire fulfillment capacity. That is what is will. When we say will means overcoming every kind of obstacle and reaching the goal one has decided, the objective one has decided for himself, reaching that. That is what is involved here. So when we are talking about this will, we have to go a little deeper into it and understand this is Aishwarya. You have heard of four bhavas. So, which is the bhava involved here in this willpower? Unobstructed will, unobstructed desire fulfilling capacity. This is what yogi acquires. So, as I was reflecting, contemplating on this idea of the sutra, I remembered many years back, almost 30 years back, we were working on Encyclopedia, Volume 3, the Encyclopedia, Volume 3, which is there at the Yoga Institute. It is a little complex kind of encyclopedia. You can have a look at it. It is dealing with mental disorders. It is dealing with basically mind and mental disorders. How yoga can provide healing. So entire volume 3, but it has become a little complex. So it is difficult to follow. It doesn't contain much of the popular content. That's why people may not be inclined to look at it or read it. But I would suggest that if you are interested, then definitely you read it because it contains a lot of gems. If one is really interested in therapy, if one is really interested in understanding how the healing takes place, how the therapies are working, then perhaps this volume should be read by everybody. So, while we were working on this encyclopedia, Dr. Jaydev asked me to read a book. I read that book. In fact, several books I read that time. While working on the encyclopedia, there were a group of sadhakas who were working on the encyclopedia, and every week we will meet every Wednesday 7 to 8 in the evening. So every Wednesday we will meet and discuss about the encyclopedia. Gradually, material was collected, and then it was given a definite form, and then like that, 4 volumes were published. So we were working on this third. That time he asked me to read that book. And what was the name of that book? The name of the book was Shamans, Mystics and Doctors. Shamans, Mystics and Doctors. Now this was not ordinary book. That time when I was reading, I didn't realize its importance. It was written by one great psychoanalyst. His name was Sudhir Kakkar. Sudhir Kakkar is a very big name in Indian psychological thinking, Indian psychology, among the Indian psychologists. He has done tremendous work. He was a writer and he has written very good books on psychology. So he was searching the methods of healing all over the world. That is why the title of the book is Shamans, Mystics and Doctors. So he was trained in the Western psychology, so Western healing methods he was well aware, Western healing processes he was well aware. He wanted to go deeper into Indian methods of healing. So in Indian thinking, you'll find various ways of healing are there. The other day I was attending one workshop there. This gentleman who was taking the class, he said there are 4 healing methods. One is going to ashram, other is the traditional hospitals and allopathy and homeopathy, and then third is the energy method where all the Reiki, acupressure, acupuncture, distant healing, pranic healing, all those will form under that category. And then there is this naturopathy, which is another totally different branch altogether. So he listed out four kind of healing methods. Now here, Sudhir Kakkar was psychologist, so he was interested in abnormal behavior. He was interested in mental health, mental disorders. So he was trying to understand what are the healing processes. For that, he traveled all over India, and he also traveled in tribal areas in forest where these medicine men are healing the tribal people. So he even studied the tribal healing methods, and in that tantra is also there. So he also studied, he also met some tantrics which were available to him that time or which he could find. So he met one very great tantric. There are many other areas like he studied, he met, the very prominent sects in India, spiritual sects, and what were the healing methods they were adopting. There are certain temples, like in Rajasthan, there is a temple where any kind of mental disorder can be healed by visiting that temple. And the tribals are also, shamans are also doing a lot of healing. So everything scientifically and very beautifully he studied, and then he wrote this book. So when he talks about tantra, it was very interesting for me also. That time I didn't understand much, to be frank with you. I did not have that kind of understandings, deeper understanding. So I just read, and because we were assisting doctor had said, see if you can find anything which is useful for using as an idea for our encyclopedia. So from that perspective, I was reading. I did not really understand the significance of the writing, what was stated. So while reading the portion on the tantra, I came across one, uh, you know, particular portion which was very interesting. So Sudhir Kakkar, who was a scientific kind of person, very objective kind of person because he was a trained psychologist. So he interviews this tantric, and this great tantric whom he met, he asks that tantric, since how long you have been practicing tantra, and what is tantra, and what practices sadhanas they do. So all those details are there. Briefly, they are there. But then ultimately he asks one important question. What is that important question? He says, after 38 or 35 or 38 years of tantric practice, what have you gained? See, now we call ourselves yoga students, right? Some of us are practicing yoga 20 years, 30 years, 35 years. Be ready. Somebody may ask, see, you have been practicing yoga. What have you gained from yoga? You are still going on. You are still sustaining. Why you are still practicing? Why? What are you gaining from it? So this tantric was asked by Sudhir Kakkar, what have you gained? In what way tantra has helped you? Now this tantric replied, and that reply, it was really mind-boggling kind of reply. So he said, see, 38 years or 35 years of tantra practice, I have developed certain mental attitude or certain kind of understanding. So there is absolutely no agitation in my mind at all at any time. This absolute absence of any agitation, disturbance in the mind. And then just to convey this idea, he said, surprisingly, I keep moving here and there. I visit several people, I stay there at their home, at different places I go. So he says, if I go to a person and then we are sitting for meal, whatever he offers, suppose if he offers me a fish, then I find that I had a desire for fish. Just understand, it's a very simple thing, but how profound it is. So whatever is offered, I find that that is what I wished for. And then I go to another house, what they offer me, वहां पे दाल चावल खिलाते, राइस, दाल, So when they offer me dal rice, I find that I have got the will for only for dal rice. That is what I willed for. That is what I wish for. So you understand this tantric must have attained some kind of siddhi where there is no difference in what the environment, what the world is offering and what he receives. There's absolutely oneness. This is a kind of mastery where nothing disturbs, where nothing can shake the individual. So later on, doctor said this is an important point. And then in the meeting, 1 or 2 weeks, I think we were discussing about this tantric idea, that how it must be. Now just understand, you go anywhere. Now let us look at ourselves. During the day, how many times we are disturbed, we are disappointed because our wishes are not fulfilled, or things don't happen according to our wishes, according to our desires. How many times it happens during the day? Many times it happens. We are wishing for something, it doesn't happen. And then when it doesn't happen, we may not, now since we have trained our minds, maybe we will come out of the disappointment very fast. But imagine the old selves we were. When something, now I see, small children, like my granddaughter, she's only 4 years old. And when she asks for something, and if we deny it, my God, there's a big, tantrum, and then she cries, and then she forces us to, come to her, fulfill her desire. So almost similar behavior we all have. When wishes are not fulfilled, we feel dejected, we feel very sad. Now look at this tantric. Absolutely no such disturbance, no such disappointment, nothing. He's always as if in a state of mind where he's connected to the universe in such a way that whatever the universe is offering, he is accepting it. And there's no rejection. It can also be seen in this way that whatever he wishes, universe is providing him. So he says that when the fish curry and rice is offered to me, then I find that fish curry and rice is what I wanted. That means whatever he wanted was granted to him. And when dal rice is offered to him, he says that that is what I wanted. So this can be seen that the moment he desires something, that is what is offered to him. That is what comes before him. Now this kind of siddhi is being talked about here. The will of yogi is so supreme that whatever he desires, it will come before him. That kind of power is there. I gave you the example of Tantric. I gave you the example of Madhavdas ji. Now, you see, one very important point which Dr. Jaydev is making in this sutra, in his book, is that all this is possible by what? It is possible by concentration. And when we are talking about concentration of what? Concentration of mind. What is the essential characteristics of the mind? And what we call mind? We have got consciousness. And this consciousness, according to many religious people, they will say that it is the God's consciousness which is there in all of us. Even in Indian thinking, you will find Brahma, Nirgun Brahma or Brahma. So we all have a spark of Brahma in us. So if the Brahma has got all the creativity, then the spark also must be having all the creativity. Only thing is that creativity is restricted because of various factors. And through the concentration, those factors can be eliminated, those factors can be removed, those obstructions can be removed, and then the consciousness becomes, and nowadays a lot of work is being done. I'll correlate it to the ideas which are revolving around now. It's almost 20-25 years now, ever since the book Secret came out. And there are so many ideas revolving around the book called Secret. So, and nowadays big talk is about manifestation. So you can manage people are manifesting whatnot, cars and houses and bungalows. But yogi is not interested in manifesting all this. Yogi knows the principle now. So now you will find many modern day psychologists, many modern day these meta teachers and meta counselors and meta healers. They are talking about things like this, which Siddhis are talking about. So they say if you believe, and if you are in what is known as that same frequency, if you can create that frequency with the universe, whatever you wish, it will be given to you. I hope everybody has heard of it. I'm not saying something new. Not lots of such things are being talked about. Lots of such books have also come. So this it started with Secret. After Secret, there is a flood of such kind of books. So even they will claim the title of the book will be Manifest Anything. But most of the people are what interested in what manifesting material things. Some people are manifesting Skoda car. Some are manifesting Mercedes cars. Somebody are manifesting bungalows. Yogi is not interested in all this. Now, if we look at the principle which is working behind this manifestation, it is nothing but the same which yogis are talking about. They have this tremendous faith. They have faith in their mind. They have faith in this consciousness which they have. This consciousness is always creative. So with this consciousness, they can do wonders. So this is the modern parallel where we can understand how these siddhis must be working, because precisely these are the things which are being talked about now by so many peoples. I in 2020, when Corona started, I read a very, very important book. Very important book. According to me, I have read many books, but this was very, really great book, I would say, where this individual, I don't know whether he was exposed to this Indian thinking, Advaita Vedanta or yoga or Sankhya, but the things he's absolutely talking from the Western point of view. He's American, and his words are American. His language is American. His concepts are American, but what he's talking about is self, the consciousness, which is creative consciousness. And he says, with self, you can do anything. And he says all the obstacles which are there in the path of all the negative qualities or the kleshas, they all can be overcome. Relationships, material possessions. And he says one can just live a very, very great life. One can get enlightened. So these modern thinkers now have come to the same conclusion which yogis have talked about, Sankhya has talked about long back. And it is a good sign. Somewhere they are realizing that the human beings and human consciousness has got tremendous capacity. And this capacity has to be utilized properly. But as I told you, not for manifesting material things. Because then if we understand the principle and if we are still running after the material things, we are caught up in the same world. We are not rising, we are not growing. Yogi is interested in growing up. Yogi is interested in much bigger things. Now, you see, it is the power of concentration which is doing all that, Sanyama technique. So one may wonder when somebody hears this about Ashta Siddhis, one will be little taken aback and there'll be a resistance. Immediately there'll be a resistance or reaction in the mind. Oh, all this is humbug. How can this happen? Now, I'll come to science now. Do you think 70, 80 years back, something like what is called plastic was possible? Or for that, we are forgetting that nuclear power is not very old. It is only 75, 80 years old. Einstein had thought about it, and then a lot of. So how did Einstein find out that this kind of possibility is there in the small atom of a particular element? What was Einstein doing? What was the method of Einstein? Concentration. And then who thought that a computer which will need a big room to occupy will be reduced to size where it will go into a palm of the hand and it will do all the functions. So remember the computers of 50 years back, 40 years back. what was the size of those computers, and what was the supercomputer at that time. Now, at that time, what was supercomputer has now become a small mobile phone, which has got much better features than the supercomputers. Your one small mobile phone, cell phone has got much better. Now, all these are so wonderful. We are taking them for granted, so we are not thinking. But think deeply, who might have created, who must have thought 50 years back, 20 years back that this is possible. Now, why this is happening? How it is happening? What are they creating now? Now also super minds are involved. Some best minds in the world are involved. They are concentrating on certain areas. And as they are concentrating on certain areas, the knowledge is being revealed. The knowledge is coming that what can be done. So concentration, human consciousness and concentration has got that power that one can understand. And once you understand, then you can manipulate. Elements were not known, not understood, so there was no possibility of manipulation. Now elements are understood. Qualities of the elements are understood, so they are being manipulated. Rare earth, right now, big crisis is going on in the world, economic crisis because of the tariffs. So China has stopped supplying rare earth. Rare earth is nothing but a number of elements which are necessary for producing computers, chips. They are needed for that. Now, these are the qualities which are there in the elements. Now, how did scientists find about these qualities? Well, something which is, dust or dirt, how can that be so valuable that something fantastic like computer chip can be produced out of it? Isn't it Siddhi? Isn't it something wonderful? How did human beings acquire it? They acquire it with the power of concentration. So we'll have to think about it. And then that's why perhaps so many years back, Swami Vivekananda had said, he had advised to the teachers. What he advised, he said, of all the things which you can teach to the children, teach them the most important thing, primary thing, that is how to concentrate. If you teach your children how to concentrate, they will be able to do anything else. Other things you need not teach them. They only have to know how to concentrate, because somehow human consciousness and concentration, the moment we focus on something, it is not the mind, it is the ability of the mind to really understand, go into that thing and understand what it contains, what qualities it has got. That capacity human mind has it. So yogis were performing that, yogis had those, but now also those qualities are there in human beings. It has not been lost. It is there. And that's how we are able to, progress so much in the field of science, and so many fantastic things are happening. All this is because of the concentration. So there should not be any wonder when we are talking about these siddhis that how it might be possible. It might be possible through the power of concentration. But the only thing is that they are using a different language, a language which was 2,500 years old or through 2,000 years old. Now language also has changed. We are living in different times. The words are different. What the language of secret book is talking about, that language is modern and current now. Manifestation is current now. So पहले in Sanskrit में they will say योगी ने हाथ उठाया और पानी प्रकट कर दिया. And now modern people will say he desired for water and he manifested water. This will be the only change. Otherwise, it is the same thing. Manifestation, producing something. So these are some thoughts related to the sutras. But the essential message, I know it is very difficult to really understand the siddhis and talk about these siddhis logically. But here we have to understand that human creativity and human capacity is unlimited. He can rise to a very great height. That is the capacity all human beings have. So if we do the correct things, then knowledge is also not inaccessible to us. That is why we say that what yoga does, when we are practicing yoga, yoga is enabling us to focus our minds in such a way that we are able to acquire right kind of knowledge. For this, again, I will connect it to the practical life. Imagine when you started practicing yoga, and some of the techniques of yoga you started practicing. When you started practicing yoga, for matter, when I'm saying you, it includes me also, all of us. When we started yoga, what was our physical state? What was our mental state? What was our mental capacity? And after years of practices, what do we think about our capacities now? How much we understand? What all we understand? So if the effort is put in right direction, then definitely the knowledge can come. Each one of us has that capacity. That is the beauty of it. All of us have that same. So in hardware, everybody is equipped with the same. God has not been discriminating. God doesn't have favorites. He is very kind to all of us. He is equal to all of us. He has given us equal resources. He has given us equal capacities. But then he has also given us some wisdom, which will tell us how to use it. So if we use it correctly, things will go in right direction. If we use it wrongly, things will go in bad direction, wrong direction. This is what we can understand. Very technical sutra, but still, if there are questions.
So you mentioned one book that you read in lockdown, which you said for the self. Did you mention the name or I miss it? You said you read a book about self, which was one can get enlightened. Did you mention?
Yeah. No, I did not mention the name.
Okay.
I think the name of the book is Transformation Through Enlightenment.
Thank you, sir.
Transformation through, and you can write the name of the author also, Ron Smotherman. Ron Smotherman. That is the name of the author.
Thank you, sir.
The book contains some such fantastic ideas that I think the publishers might have refused to publish it. So Ron himself published these books, and very limited editions were available. Now it might be available. You can just search it.
No problem.
Yeah.
Another question is, sir, if you could explain Saguna and Nirgun Brahman a little bit, clarity, if there is, what it is.
See, in Indian, bhakti is a very important aspect of Indian spiritual practices. So when we are talking about, or for that matter, entire world, in entire world, people do talk about super power, which is running the world, and we call that super power as God. So how to connect to God? That has been a very, very perennial problem for all the people who are drawn towards God, or who are drawn towards spirituality. So how to connect to God? How do we talk about God? We all agree. Okay, there is one supernormal power, and but then I don't see it, because God is not something with some entity which can be seen by the senses. He's transcendental reality. He's beyond everything. He's beyond you in the world. So how do we connect? So then human mind is very creative. So human mind creates certain symbols, and through which he tries to connect with the God, or certain images. So like, we have Ram, we have Krishna, we have Shankar, or we have Jesus Christ. All these are, Saguna Ishvara. So whenever we are contemplating on God, worshipping God, chanting his name, contemplating on his qualities, then if we are doing it with the help of certain characteristics which are there in the bhutas, like certain form, certain color, certain shape, certain quality, certain power, certain attribute, whenever any such method is adopted for worshipping God, or trying to reach God, or contemplating on God, or thinking about God, that will be falling under the category of Saguna Ishvara, Saguna Brahma. Because some qualities, some attributes are being taken help of for contemplating or focusing on God, understanding God. So that will come under the realm of Saguna Ishvara. Saguna. And but then, if we look at the scriptures, or if we look at the saints and sages like Kabir was Nirguna Bhakta. So they always talk about, there are many saints. So Advait talks about Nirguna Brahma. So when Advait says Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya, so what Advait is talking about, Advait is talking about Nirguna Brahma, the qualityless, attributeless, transcendental. Now, how do we conceive of such a transcendental entity? How do we conceive of that transcendental Nirguna, entity? This is the difficulty, and that's why they say that when a person has to worship God, or he's seeking grace of God. Suppose if we are seeking grace of God and we want to worship God, how do we begin? So initially we'll have to begin with the Saguna. Some qualities we'll have to contemplate, and once we start experiencing certain things, maybe a stage will come when one can transcend all that. So this is how Saguna and Nirguna has been differentiated.
Thank you, sir.
Namaste, sir. I have some technical question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, this is just for my technical understanding, because it's so interesting to see this, that I'm having this book by Swami Hariharananda Aranya, the one that you refer to.
Yeah.
So pertaining this particular Sutra 45, in that first initially Vyasa has written that yogins with such power do not utilize them for disturbing the disposition of the world, because they do not or cannot go against the will of a previously perfected one who has brought about the existing disposition of things. And then I think in the later commentary, which is the thoughts of Swami Hariharananda, he has put that by the term previously perfected one used by the commentator, the creator, protector, and destroyer of the universe, which you rightly mentioned, the Saguna Ishvara, is referred. And then further it's written in the Sankhya philosophy, it has been said, he is all-knowing and all-powerful. So the views of Sankhya and Yoga philosophies are the same. So this is just for my technical understanding, that because when we talk of Sankhya by Kapila, and the understanding of Sankhya is mainly Purusha Prakriti with no supreme entity. Of course, in yoga, we have Purusha as a distinct Purusha, a unique Purusha with certain characteristics. So now, when I'm looking at this, how should I understand? Because there is, of course, I can see the Advaita influence in Vyasa's Bhashya.
No, it is not Advaita's influence. It is purely Sankhya only. Now,
so this is theist, the later.
This is something which we have to understand, that the philosophies of India developed over arguments with each other.
Exactly.
And the opponents of the Sankhya, they always blamed Sankhya. So there is one particular Sutra, Sankhya Sutra, Ishvara Asiddha, which
Sankhya
says,
Sutra.
Sankhya Sutra, which says that Ishvara's existence cannot be proved by the material means. Like, it is like I told you that we cannot see God with our eyes, right? We cannot sense him because he is beyond everything. So that is what the Sutra says, Sankhya Sutra says. But that has been interpreted as if the Sankhya is denying the existence of Ishvara. And there are other sutras which they have totally ignored, which they have totally overlooked. So in the same Sankhya Sutras, one sutra is the existence of the God cannot be proved like we can prove the existence of any other thing.
Correct.
Because God is beyond everything.
Right.
But then subsequent sutra says that there is Ishvara who is all-knowing and all-powerful. So, so now you'll have to refer to this Sankhya Sutras.
Yes.
And Sankhya Sutra is number 356. And the sutra reads, Sahi sarvavit sarvakarta. Sahi means he. Sa means God. Sa means God. Sahi sarvavit, all knowing. He is all knowing. And sarvakarta, all powerful. So Sankhya also recognizes the role of Saguna Ishvara. Hiranyagarbha is Saguna Ishvara. If you look at the, you may not have other books of Sankhya, but you know,
the Sankhya Sutra itself, in Sankhya Sutra,
Sankhya Sutra
which is also, Kapila's book.
No, Kapila's Sankhya Sutra, but that Kapila's Sankhya Sutras are lost. There are other Sankhya Sutras which are available. So if you type in Google also, you'll find Sankhya Sutras. There are some sutras which are Sankhya Sutra of Panchashika. That is a different thing. They are original. Some recent, maybe 600-700 or 800 years back, some sutras were written. So there, these two sutras are there. So reading one sutra, commentators have said that there is no God. So they always blame that Sankhya is Nirishwar. But then they forget that Sankhya is a Vedic darshan.
Exactly. This has been my long-term question. And thank you so much for bringing this.
Sankhya believes in Saguna Ishwar.
Because Kapila, whenever we do the research, it says that Kapila school, Sankhya, is basically, initially it was termed as the atheist, then the later...
That is by the intellectuals, the Pandits, the academicians, not for a Sankhya follower. Sankhya follower will take help of Ishvara for his upliftment.
Beautiful, because this has been my long-term question.
No, absolutely. Swami Haryanandana has very specifically pointed out. And there are several things, we can, since we are at distance, certain things, it is difficult to share a few things, but rest assured, Sankhya believes in Saguna Ishvara. In fact, Hiranyagarbha, they talked about Prajapati.
It's here also in the
Prajapati is Hiranyagarbha. Prajapati is Hiranyagarbha. Prajapati. Sankhya uses the word Prajapati.
Okay, because it would be so interesting to know the position of God or Brahman according to the Sankhya language. Vedantic, I'm used to it, but the Sankhya, we don't know that how.
That is wrong criticism.
Because here in Vyasa Bhashyam also, he's put, not Vyasa, Hariharananda, he has put the word Hiranyagarbha.
The sutra I read from, in English it is not given, but in Hindi version it is there. So I read from that only.
Which one? Okay, from Hariharananda's.
His commentary only I read just now.
Yeah, I have an English version.
See,
and he has written in spite.
I'll read it to you so it will become clear. भाष्य में प्रयुक्त पूर्व सिद्ध शब्द से संसार के सृष्टा, पाता तथा संवर्ता सगुण ईश्वर उक्त हुआ है. सांख्य सूत्र में भी है सही सर्वविद सर्वकर्ता. इस प्रकार ईश्वर सिद्ध रहने से सांख्य और योग का मत समान है. एकम सांख्यम च योगम च यह पश्यति स पश्यति. So according to Bhagavad Gita, Sankhya और योग एक ही है, जिसको भी देख लो एक ही है. So that is what Aranya has quoted. एकम सांख्यम योगम च यह पश्यति स पश्यति.
Right.
तो both believe in Ishvara, which is Saguna Ishvara.
Because very much, I mean, from many Vedantic scholars, I have heard that when we talk of Purusha and Prakriti, when we want to try to understand what comes further than above Purusha, then Sankhya can't give clear answers. And therefore then
people who claim that they have not studied Sankhya deeply. People who claim that they have not really studied Sankhya deeply. And they have not perhaps studied the right things.
Right.
Yeah.
But there is some distinction between the God of Sankhya and the God of Vedanta.
Jinal, Bhagavad Gita is said by Krishna.
Exactly.
Krishna says, Ekam Sankyam Yogam cha, Yah Pashyati Sa Pashyati. Sankhya and Yoga are one and the same. The people who differentiate between them are fools. These are Krishna's words. Lord himself is saying. Now what more authority you want?
Yes. So there's no distinction as
No
such.
distinction. No distinction.
This is for my technical understanding,
Yes,
because
yes.
there's so much to know.
Yes,
And-
yes. Because this question bothered me quite a lot. So I also was really worried about it. So I also tried to find out.
And this, when did you find this out about the Sankhya Sutra?
Not few years back. Few years
Wow.
back.
It's such a big change. I mean, just this sutra changes everything, because we see Sankhya as an atheistic system.
Then there are there are writings where certain things have been discussed. Not easily accessible, but fortunately with Dr. Jaydev's help, we could access some books where some clarifications are there.
Yes, yes.
But good, you are thinking on these lines. I'm happy that you are bothered about this question. Good.
Yes, just because it gives an opportunity to concentrate, as you said, concentration. So there's one question, if you have time.
Actually, time is exceeded. It is already.
Yes, it was pertaining the last sutra. Maybe in the next.
Quickly we can. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it's there in the Harihara Aranya's book.
Yeah.
Where in the last sutra, that is 44, there is his own commentary in English, where he has put, this is how Bhutas and their causes, that is Tanmatras, are realized. The cause of an object as its Prakriti, full stop. And then he has put Purusha-like Buddhi is mentioned in 3.35, may also be termed Prakriti, which is not the same as the primal principle Tattva, because it still forms part of Buddhi. So I was just interested in understanding this word where he has put Purusha like Buddhi, because it's so unique, to have this this term. So I just wanted to have your understanding why he puts Purusha like Buddhi.
So because see, the purpose of yoga is to attain that pure consciousness. And how do we attain that pure consciousness? It is only through this buddhi. And then how it happens? It happens by purification of buddhi. So we go on eliminating all the distracting factors, all the weaknesses, and the dross which is caused by rajas and tamas is removed, and buddhi becomes more and more sattvic. A stage comes when buddhi becomes very, very sattvic, so sattvic that it can reflect the Purusha.
Yes.
So that is the buddhi like Purusha.
Buddhi like Purusha. Yes, I just wanted your explanation. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll leave it here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, sir.
The session went on a little long.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.